it is my pleasure to move to the heart and soul of why we are all here, the symposium with our esteemed panel. It is my pleasure to introduce our moderator, Dr. Cliff Hudis, who chairs BCRF's Scientific Advisory Committee and is chief of the Breast Cancer Medicine Service at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. It's very thrilling also to tell you that Cliff is president-elect of the American Society of Clinical Oncology. This is hugely, hugely important. And in the last decade, 5 BCRF grantees or scientific advisors have served as president of ASCO, proof positive that we really have the A-team in our scientific leadership.
Well, thank you, Myra. And thank you, Leonard, and all of you, our kind supporters. It is a highlight of the year for all of us to come and join you today. Not only is it an opportunity for us to give back, which makes us really happy, but it's also an opportunity for us to do the thing I think we love to do the most, and that is to talk. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce our panelists, and then you will all have the opportunity to ask questions of them. They will provide a brief little introduction to what their work is, and we will have microphones in the audience for you to signal for so that your question can be heard. I do want to just remind everybody as we get into that part, frame your questions in the third person so that we aren't put in the position of doing consultations. You don't want us doing it that way, and sometimes it could make us uncomfortable as well. So with that, what I want to next do is introduce our panelists in order. I'm going to start, I think, with Edith Perez. She is the Deputy Director of the Mayo Clinic Cancer Center here in Florida, and she's Director of the Breast Program and the Serene M. Francis C. Durling Professor of Medicine at the Mayo Medical School. She is well known. Doesn't matter. Keep going. You want more? Sit down, Edith. And Edith is a world-renowned clinical and translational investigator who has led several of the practice-changing clinical research trials in the last few years, you'll see a theme in a minute here, but Edith recently became one of my bosses in the cooperative group system. She's now the vice chair of the Alliance, which is a merger of 3 of the federally funded cooperative group systems. We may hear a little more about that, so welcome, Edith. Now, our second panelist is Dan Haber, and before I introduce him, I want to mention that both Edith and Dan are special within the BCRF. They are funded by Play for Pink, and I know that Laura Lastman is here, along with, I think, 2 board members from Play for Pink, Carol Ermel and Leslie Friedland, and we thank you especially for your support of Dan and of Edith. This group, by the way, has given a cumulative $25.7 million to the BCRF over the years. Now, Dan Haber, in a scientific audience, absolutely needs no introduction, and I'm sure for many of you, especially those of you from the losing side last night, know that he's the director of the Massachusetts General Hospital. Sorry, I couldn't help it. He's the director of the Massachusetts General Hospital Cancer Center. He's the Eiselbacher Schwartz Professor of Oncology at Harvard Medical School. He's been at Harvard since 1991. He is world-renowned for his work advancing our understanding of the genetics of cancer, and his work that I think we'll hear about today involves a venture that seeks to identify those cancer cells that circulate, and we'll hear how he can help us exploit that knowledge. He has a long list of important honors, like all the panelists, including the fact that he's a Howard Hughes professor and a member of the Institute of Medicine, and these are lofty achievements. Thank you, Dan. And our final member of our panel to this group needs no introduction, but I will introduce him anyway. This is Larry Norton, another of my bosses. He is currently the Deputy Physician-in-Chief of Memorial Hospital in New York City for breast cancer programs. He's the Medical Director of our Breast and Imaging Center, which contains the Evelyn H. Lauder Breast Center. He is a founding founder, along with Evelyn, of the BCRF in 1993, and he has been the chairman of its Executive Board of Scientific Advisors since its inception. We will hear from Larry about a novel view of the biology of cancer, and we're going to tie all of this, I hope, together for you so that you get to see today several things. The first is that science is a collaborative endeavor. The second is that there are broad themes that cut through the work that we all do. The third is that none of us can do this alone, and that it's, as you'll see through the rest of the session, it's your support that enables the components of the research advances that I hope we can convey to you today.